Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.E.C. Defiant, watching the stars through the main viewport. The ship was old, maybe 20 years past its prime, with thick metal plates covering most of its hull. Other species in the galaxy often laughed when they saw it. They called it ugly, slow, and outdated. Jake didn't mind their jokes. He knew something they didn't. The Defiant was stationed at Kepler Station, a small outpost on the edge of human space. It was quiet here, far from the busy trade routes and political centers. Jake's crew of 37 people had grown used to the peaceful routine. They ran patrol missions, checked on mining ships, and kept an eye on the border. Nothing exciting ever happened. "Captain, we have a visitor," said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Parker, his first officer. She was a smart woman who had served with Jake for 5 years. Lisa knew how to handle the crew and keep everything running smoothly. "Who is it this time?" Jake asked, already knowing the answer would annoy him. "Ambassador Krell from the Zephyrian. Empire. He wants to inspect our ship again." Jake sighed. Ambassador Krell was a tall, blue-skinned alien who thought humans were primitive. He visited human ships whenever he got bored, always making rude comments about their technology. The Zephyrians had faster ships and better weapons, so they looked down on everyone else. "Let him come aboard," Jake said. "Maybe he'll get tired of insulting us and leave sooner." 20 minutes later, Ambassador Krell walked onto the bridge with 2 guards. He was nearly 7 feet tall with 4 arms and bright yellow eyes. His expensive robes showed his high rank in the Zephyrian government. "Captain Morrison," Krell said in his deep voice, "I see your ship is still held together by hope and spare parts." Jake forced a smile. "A Defiant has served us well for many years, Ambassador." Krell walked around the bridge, touching control panels with disgust. "These computers are so old, I'm surprised they still work. And these weapon systems look like toys compared to modern designs." Danny Rodriguez, the chief engineer, clenched his fists but said nothing. Danny was a short, stocky man who knew every bolt and wire on the ship. He took pride in keeping the Defiant running perfectly, even if it looked old. "Your entire human fleet is like this," Krell continued. "Weak ships with weak weapons. It's amazing you've survived this long in space." "We do our best with what we have," Jake replied calmly. Krell laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. "If a real military force ever attacked you, these flying scrap heaps would be destroyed in minutes. Humans are lucky that stronger species have better things to do than conquer your tiny worlds." After the ambassador left, Lisa walked over to Jake. "I wanted to punch him," she said quietly. "So did I," Jake admitted. "But let him think we're weak. It might save lives someday." Danny joined them, shaking his head. "That blue fool has no idea what he's looking at. If he knew what was really under these old metal plates, he'd be scared instead of arrogant." Jake nodded. The Defiant did look old and weak from the outside. The thick armor plating was scarred from years of service. The weapon mounts seemed too small and outdated. Even the engine design looked primitive compared to modern ships, but appearances could be deceiving. Hidden beneath the old exterior was the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. The ship's computer systems were disguised to look simple, but they contained quantum processors more powerful than anything the Zephyrians had built. The weapons could adapt and change during battle, learning from each shot fired. The armor wasn't just thick metal plates, but layers of smart materials that could become harder or softer as needed. Jake had been given command of the Defiant 3 years ago. At first, he thought it was a punishment assignment, being sent to a remote station with an old ship. Then he learned the truth. The Defiant wasn't just any patrol vessel. It was humanity's secret weapon, a test platform for technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. "Captain," called Jenny Walsh from the communications station. "I'm getting a priority message from Earth Command." Jake frowned. Priority messages were rare out here. "Put it through to my quarters." "Lisa, you have the bridge." In his small cabin, Jake activated the secure communication system. Admiral Sarah Thompson appeared on the screen, her face serious and tired. She was the head of Earth's military forces and one of the few people who knew about the Defiant's true capabilities. "Jake, we have a problem," she said without greeting. "Long-range sensors have detected a large alien fleet moving toward human space. We estimate 200 ships, all heavily armed." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Which species, Admiral?" "The hegemony. They've decided to test our defenses before launching a full invasion. Intelligence suggests they think we'll be easy targets." The hegemony was a collection of aggressive alien races that had conquered dozens of worlds. They were known for their brutal tactics and advanced military technology. If they were coming for humanity, it meant serious trouble. "What are my orders?" Jake asked. "Stand by for sealed instructions. You'll receive them in the next hour." "Jake, I know this is what you've trained for, but the odds will be terrible. The main fleet will try to protect our core worlds, but we can't match their numbers." The screen went dark, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. He had always known this day might come. The Defiant had been built for one purpose: to prove that human technology could compete with the best in the galaxy. Now that technology would be tested in the worst possible way. About an hour later, the sealed orders arrived. Jake read them twice, making sure he understood every word. His mission was simple in concept, but almost impossible to execute. The Defiant would position itself along the enemy's route and engage them when the time was right. The goal wasn't just to fight, but to demonstrate humanity's hidden strength. Jake called his senior officers to the briefing room. Lisa, Danny, and the other department heads gathered around the table, their faces showing concern. "We have new orders," Jake began. "The hegemony is coming, and we're going to stop them." Danny raised an eyebrow. "All of them? With one ship?" "That's the plan," Jake said. "For 3 years, we've been pretending to be just another old patrol ship. Tomorrow, we show the galaxy what humans can really do when we stop holding back." Lisa leaned forward. "Are you saying the ship can actually handle a fleet that size?" Jake smiled for the first time that day. The Defiant was built for this exact situation. We're about to find out if human engineering is as good as we think it is. Outside the briefing room, the stars continued their eternal dance, unaware that the fate of humanity would soon be decided by a ship that everyone had overlooked. Admiral Vexstar stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Dominator, watching the star charts with satisfaction. His fleet of 200 warships stretched across space like a deadly river of metal. Each ship was twice the size of the largest human vessel, armed with weapons that could crack planets and shields that had never been broken. The Admiral was a member of the Krex species, standing 9 feet tall with gray skin and 6 arms. His people had conquered 47 worlds in the last century. Today, they would add human space to that list. "Admiral, our scouts report human fleet movements," said Commander Zeek, his second in command. "They appear to be retreating to defensive positions around their core worlds." Vexstar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Of course they are. Humans know they cannot fight us in open space. They will try to hide behind their planet defenses and hope we get bored." The intelligence reports on human military capability made for amusing reading. Human ships were described as slow, poorly armed, and built with primitive technology. Their largest battleship carried less firepower than a hegemony cruiser. Most human vessels looked like they had been cobbled together from scrap metal. "Sir, should we proceed at full speed?" asked Zeek. "No hurry," Vexstar replied. "Let them see us coming, Fear will make them weaker when we arrive. Besides, I want to enjoy this conquest. It has been too long since we faced such helpless prey. 3 systems away, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of the UES Liberty, humanity's flagship. Her face was grim as she watched the tactical display showing enemy positions. The hegemony fleet was massive, better armed, and advancing steadily toward human space. "Admiral, the outer colonies are evacuating," reported her aide. "Most civilian ships have reached safe zones." Kate nodded. "What about our fleet positions?" "Battle Group Alpha is defending the Mars system. Battle Group Beta is protecting the Europa stations. Battle Group Gamma is falling back to Earth orbit." As planned, Kate studied the numbers. Even with all their ships combined, the human fleet was outnumbered 5-1. Worse, the enemy had better technology and more experience. This would be the biggest test humanity had ever faced. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet," the communications officer announced. "Put it on screen." Admiral Vextar's face appeared, his yellow eyes gleaming with confidence. "Human Commander, I am Admiral Vextar of the Hegemony. Your species has 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. Submit now, and we will allow some of your people to live as slaves. Resist, and we will burn every human world to ash." Kate kept her expression calm. "This is Admiral Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. Human space is not for sale. If you want it, you'll have to take it." Vextar's laugh echoed through the bridge. Brave words from someone flying in a tin can. "Your largest ship would make a poor shuttle for my fleet. We have 200 warships, each one worth 10 of yours. Do not throw away lives for foolish pride." "We'll see about that," Kate replied, and cut the transmission. On the bridge of the Defiant, Jake Morrison received his final orders from Earth Command. He read them carefully, then sealed the message pad in his safe. The mission was clear, but seemed impossible. His single ship was supposed to engage an entire enemy fleet and somehow win. "Captain, we're approaching the Titan Belt," reported Lisa. "Parker, Danny has the ship ready for combat deployment." Jake looked at his crew. These 37 people were about to face odds that no military force in human history had ever attempted. Yet none of them looked afraid. They trusted their ship and their captain. "Take us into the asteroid field," Jake ordered. "Find us a good hiding spot among the bigger rocks." The Defiant moved carefully between massive asteroids, using their bulk to hide from enemy sensors. The ship's old appearance worked in their favor here. Most advanced vessels would stand out like beacons, but the Defiant looked like just another piece of space junk. Danny Rodriguez monitored the ship's systems from his engineering station. Everything looked normal on the surface, but beneath the old controls lay the most sophisticated technology humans had ever built. Quantum processors hummed quietly, adaptive weapon systems ran self-checks, and armor plating prepared to reshape itself at the molecular level. "All systems show green," Danny reported. "The ship is ready for full combat activation." Ben Hayes, the tactical officer, watched his screens carefully. "Enemy fleet is 6 hours out and maintaining course. They're not even trying to scan for threats." "Why would they?" Lisa asked. "They think we're defenseless." Jake smiled grimly. "That's exactly what we want them to think." "Ben, are the new targeting systems online?" "Yes, sir. Quantum guidance is active and learning enemy ship patterns from long-range scans. The missiles are already adapting their programming." Jenny Walsh looked up from her communications station. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual readings from our own systems. The computer seems to be running calculations beyond normal parameters." "That's expected," Jake said. "The ship is designed to learn and adapt. The more data it processes, the smarter it becomes." Hours passed as the Hegemony fleet approached. Admiral Vextar grew more confident with each passing minute. His sensors showed no human ships in the area, except for a few civilian transports fleeing toward the inner systems. The path to human space lay wide open. "Admiral, we're detecting some debris in the asteroid belt ahead," reported his sensor. "Officer, looks like old mining equipment and maybe a derelict ship." Vexstar barely glanced at the display. "Ignore it. Humans leave garbage everywhere they go. Focus on the real targets ahead." The massive hegemony fleet moved through space in perfect formation. Vexstar had arranged his ships to maximize their psychological impact. When humans saw this armada approaching their worlds, they would lose all hope of resistance. "Sir, we're receiving surrender messages from several human colonies," Zeke H announced. "Should we respond?" "Let them wait," Vexstar said. "Fear makes surrender taste sweeter." Hidden among the asteroids, the Defiant waited like a predator. Its sensors tracked every enemy ship, analyzing their weapons, their shields, their formation patterns. The ship's quantum brain processed thousands of tactical scenarios, calculating the best moment to strike. "Enemy fleet will be in optimal range in 30 minutes, Ben reported. Jake stood up from his captain's chair. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill." Throughout the ship, crew members took their positions. They had trained for this moment for 3 years, but no amount of practice could prepare them for what was coming. They were about to face the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, with a ship that looked like it belonged in a museum. "Lisa, remember what we learned in the simulations," Jake said. "The first few minutes will determine everything." "Understood." "Captain, all departments report ready." Jake looked at the tactical display one more time. 200 enemy ships against 1 human vessel. The odds were impossible, but Jake had faith in his ship and crew. Humanity had always been good at winning impossible fights. "Weapons online," Ben announced. "All systems are adapting to enemy signatures." "Engine room ready," Danny called out. "Power levels at maximum." Jake took a deep breath. "Gentlemen, lady, today we show the galaxy what humans can do when they stop pretending to be weak. All stations, prepare for combat." The Defiant powered up its hidden systems, and for the first time in 3 years, the ship began to reveal its true nature. The hegemony fleet moved through space like a school of deadly fish. Admiral Vexstar watched from his command deck as his ships maintained perfect formation. 200 warships spread across millions of miles, their weapons powered down to save energy for the coming planetary attacks. "Admiral, we're now entering the asteroid belt," reported Commander Zeke H. "Our sensors show only mining debris and some old human junk." Vexstar nodded without interest. "Maintain course and speed. I want to reach the first human world before their pathetic fleet can organize a defense." His ships moved confidently through the rocky field. The hegemony had crushed dozens of species, and humans would be no different. Their intelligence reports showed that human technology was at least 50 years behind modern standards. This would be more of a cleanup operation than a real war. Deep inside the asteroid field, the Defiant waited in silence. Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the enemy fleet approach through passive sensors. His ship looked like a piece of floating scrap metal, just another chunk of debris among the rocks. "Enemy formation is exactly as predicted," whispered Ben Hayes from his tactical station. "They're not even scanning for threats." Lisa Parker monitored the ship's systems. Everything appeared normal on the surface, but she could feel the hidden power humming beneath the old controls. "All departments report ready, Captain." "Danny, how are our special systems?" Jake asked quietly. From engineering, Danny Rodriguez checked his readings. "Quantum processors are online and learning. Adaptive weapons are locked onto multiple targets. Armor plating is ready to reconfigure. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Jake took a deep breath. His crew of 37 was about to face 200 enemy ships. Every person on board knew the odds, but none of them looked afraid. They trusted their captain and their ship. "Jenny, open a channel to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Channel open, sir." "Earth Command, this is Captain Morrison aboard the Defiant. We are engaging the enemy fleet. Tell Admiral Sullivan to stand by for fireworks." "Understood, Defiant. Good hunting." Jake closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with new determination. "All stations, this is it. Red alert. Prepare for combat." The bridge lights dimmed as the ship switched to battle mode. For 3 years, the Defiant had hidden its true nature. Now it was time to show the galaxy what human engineering could really accomplish. "Ben, target the lead escort ships first. We want to create maximum confusion." "Targets locked, Captain." Quantum guidance systems are tracking 12 enemy vessels. Simultaneously. "Danny, bring all systems to full power." "Aye, sir." Switching to combat configuration. Throughout the ship, hidden systems came online. Armor plating shifted and changed, becoming harder than diamond. Weapons that had looked like simple laser cannons revealed themselves as adaptive energy projectors capable of changing their output. In real time, the ship's computer brain began processing battle data at impossible speeds. "Lisa, take us out of hiding. It's time to introduce ourselves." The Defiant emerged from behind a massive asteroid like a hunting cat pouncing on prey. To the Hegemony fleet, it appeared as just another old human patrol ship, hardly worth their attention. "Fire!" Jake commanded. The first salvo caught the enemy completely off guard. Not because of the surprise attack, but because of what the weapons did to their targets. 12 Hegemony escort ships exploded simultaneously, their shields and armor. Useless against weapons that adapted faster than their defenses could respond. On the Dominator, Admiral Vexstar stared at his tactical display in shock. "What just happened? How did one small ship destroy 12 of our escorts?" "Unknown, sir," replied his weapons officer. "Our ships reported massive energy spikes just before they were destroyed. The human weapons somehow penetrated our shields." "Completely." Vexstar's yellow eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Human technology is primitive. It must have been some kind of lucky shot. Sir, the human ship is moving to a new attack position." "Then destroy it. Order all ships to concentrate fire on that target. I want it vaporized." 200 enemy ships turned their weapons toward the Defiant. Energy beams and missiles filled space as the entire Hegemony fleet fired at once. It should have been enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Instead, something impossible happened. The Defiant's armor began to glow as it absorbed the incoming energy. The ship's quantum processors analyzed every shot, every beam frequency, every missile type. In microseconds, the armor adapted its molecular structure to defend against each. Specific attack. Direct hits across all sections, Ben reported, his voice amazed. "Armor is holding at 100% effectiveness. How is that possible?" Lisa asked. Danny's voice came over the come from engineering. "The armor is learning from every hit. Each shot makes it stronger against that type of weapon. We're becoming immune to their attacks in real time." Jake smiled. "Then let's show them what we've learned. Ben, return fire. Target their heavy cruisers." This time, the Defiant's weapons had also been learning. Each enemy shot that hit their armor provided data about Hegemony shield frequencies and defensive patterns. Now the ship's weapons could adjust their output to penetrate any defense the enemy possessed. The second salvo was even more devastating than the first. 8 heavy cruisers exploded as quantum-guided missiles slipped through their shields like they weren't there. Energy beams struck with perfect accuracy, hitting critical systems that shouldn't have been visible to external sensors. "Impossible," Vexstar breathed. "Our shields are rated against any known weapon type." "Admiral, That ship is using technology we've never seen before, Zeke H reported. Our weapons have no effect, but theirs are destroying us with every shot. The Defiant moved through the enemy formation like a dancer, twisting and turning with grace that seemed to defy physics. Enemy shots that should have hit passed harmlessly by as the ship somehow predicted where the weapons would fire. "Captain, I'm reading something strange," Jenny announced from her station. The ship's computer seems to be processing probability calculations. It's like we know what they're going to do before they do it. Jake nodded. The quantum processors are working exactly as designed. We're not just adapting to their attacks. We're learning to predict them. The battle turned into a rout. What had started as 200 ships attacking one became a massacre as the Defiant systematically destroyed enemy vessels. Its weapons reached out across impossible distances, guided by quantum calculations that made missing impossible. Admiral Vexstar watched his proud fleet being torn apart by a single human ship. Vessels that had conquered worlds were exploding. Like toys, his most experienced captains were sending desperate messages, begging for orders that might save them. "Sir, we've lost over half the fleet," Zeke H reported, his voice shaking. "Should we retreat?" "Never," Vexstar snarled. "I will not be defeated by primitive humans. Order ramming attacks. If our weapons won't work, we'll crush them with our mass." 30 hegemony ships changed course, accelerating directly toward the Defiant. Each vessel was 10 times larger than the human ship. Even if they couldn't destroy it with weapons, surely they could ram it to pieces. The Defiant responded by demonstrating mobility that seemed impossible. The ship executed turns that should have torn it apart, moving like a living creature instead of a machine made of metal. It dodged between the ramming ships, its weapons firing constantly. "How are we moving like this?" Lisa asked in wonder. Danny's voice crackled over the cone. "The ship's learning algorithms have figured out how to manipulate our engine output in ways the original designers never imagined. We're not just following physics anymore. We're rewriting them." The ramming ships crashed into each other or spun helplessly through space as the Defiant slipped away from their attacks. More explosions lit up the asteroid field as the human ship continued its deadly work. Admiral Vexstar realized with growing horror that he was witnessing something beyond his understanding. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was evolution in action, a ship that was becoming more than the sum of its parts. "All ships retreat," he finally ordered. "Full power to engines. We withdraw immediately." But even retreat wouldn't be easy. The Defiant pursued the fleeing ships with relentless efficiency, its weapons reaching out to disable vessels that were trying to escape. Of the mighty armada that had entered human space, only a handful would survive to carry word of their defeat back to the hegemony. Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the enemy fleet scatter in all directions. His ship had done the impossible, but he knew the real battle was just beginning. The battle had been raging for 2 hours, and the Defiant was no longer the same ship that had hidden among the asteroids. Jake Morrison could feel the change in every system, every response from his vessel. The ship was learning and growing with each passing moment. "Captain, our weapons are developing new firing patterns on their own," Ben Hayes reported from his tactical station. "The targeting computer is creating attack sequences I've never seen before." Jake watched the display as his ship's guns fired in complex spirals, each beam precisely calculated to hit weak points in enemy armor. The weapons weren't just shooting anymore. They were thinking, "How many enemy ships are left?" Jake asked. 73 still active, sir. We've destroyed or disabled 127 vessels." Admiral Vexstar stood in the ruins of his command deck, trying to understand what was happening to his fleet. Half his ships were gone, destroyed by a single human vessel that seemed to grow stronger with each exchange of fire. "Admiral, Our weapons officers report that they cannot lock onto the human ship. Commander Zeke Edge said, his voice filled with fear. Their targeting computers show the vessel in one place, but when they fire, it's somewhere else. That's impossible, Vexstar growled. No ship can move that fast. Sir, it's not moving faster. It's like the ship knows where we're going to shoot. Before we do. On the Defiant, Danny Rodriguez watched his engineering displays with amazement. The ship's quantum processors were running calculations at speeds that shouldn't have been possible. Every enemy movement, every weapon charge, every tactical decision was being predicted and countered before it happened. Captain, you need to see this, Danny called over the com. The ship is processing probability matrices in real time. It's calculating thousands of possible futures and choosing the best path through all of them. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying the ship can see the future? Not exactly, but close enough. It's using quantum mechanics to analyze probability streams. The ship knows what the enemy will do because it's calculating every possible action they could take. Lisa Parker monitored the defensive systems from her station. Captain, something else is happening. Our armor isn't just adapting to enemy weapons anymore. It's starting to predict what types of attacks are coming and preparing defenses before they hit us. On the main screen, Jake watched his ship dance through a storm of enemy fire. Beams and missiles that should have struck home passed harmlessly through empty space as the Defiant moved with impossible grace. The ship wasn't just dodging attacks. It was moving to where the attacks wouldn't be. Jenny, are you detecting any changes in our computer systems? Jake asked. Jenny Walsh looked up from her communication station, her face pale. Sir, the quantum fluctuations throughout the ship are unlike anything in our training manuals. The computer isn't just processing data anymore. It's creating new thoughts, new ideas. I think the ship is becoming conscious. The word sent a shock through the bridge crew. They had known their vessel was advanced, but the idea that it might be alive was something none of them had considered. Danny, is that possible? Jake asked. Theoretically, yes, Danny replied. The quantum processors were designed to learn and adapt. If they've reached a critical mass of information processing, they could develop genuine intelligence. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was handling the revelation better than he expected, but he could see the questions in their eyes. Were they still commanding a ship, or were they now partners with a new form of life? Whatever's happening, we still have a battle to fight, Jake decided. Ben, status on enemy formations? They're trying to retreat, but we're not letting them. Our weapons are tracking fleeing ships across impossible distances. I don't understand how we're hitting targets that are beyond our normal range. The Defiant pursued the scattered hegemony vessels with relentless efficiency. Its weapons had evolved beyond their original design, reaching out through space to disable ships that were trying to escape. Energy beams bent around asteroids and through debris fields, guided by calculations that treated physics more like suggestions than laws. Admiral Vexstar's flagship limped away from the battle zone, its engines damaged and shields failing. Around him, the survivors of his once mighty fleet fled in all directions. The proud armada that had entered human space was now a collection of broken, terrified ships. How many vessels do we have left? Vexstar asked quietly. 37 ships. Are still capable of faster-than-light travel, Zeke H reported. The rest are either destroyed or too damaged to leave the system. Vexstar stared at the tactical display, showing the human ship still pursuing stragglers. That vessel has destroyed over 160 warships. Ships that have conquered. Worlds defeated entire fleets. How is this possible? Sir, I don't think we're fighting a normal ship anymore, Zek said carefully. Our sensors are detecting energy patterns that don't match any known technology. Whatever that thing is, it's beyond our understanding. On the Defiant, Jake made a decision that would change everything. Instead of destroying the remaining enemy ships, he ordered his vessel to let them escape. The survivors needed to carry word of humanity's true capabilities back to the hegemony leadership. "All weapons, cease fire," Jake commanded. "Let the remaining ships withdraw." "Sir?" Ben asked, confused. "They need to tell their people what happened here. If the hegemony learns that attacking humanity is suicide, they might think twice before trying again." Lisa nodded in understanding. Fear can be more effective than destruction. The Defiant watched as the surviving enemy ships jumped to faster-than-light travel, fleeing toward their home territories. In a few days, the entire galaxy would know that the weak humans had destroyed a hegemony armada with a single vessel. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from Earth Command," Jenny announced. "Put it through." Admiral Kate Sullivan's face appeared on the screen, her expression a mixture of disbelief and pride. "Jake, our sensors are showing impossible readings from your position. Please tell me you didn't just defeat an entire hegemony fleet with one ship." "That's exactly what we did, Admiral," Jake replied. The Defiant performed beyond all expectations. How many enemy casualties? 163 ships destroyed or permanently disabled. 37 survivors allowed to retreat. Kate stared at him in silence for several seconds. "Jake, do you understand what this means? You've just announced to the galaxy that humanity is a major military power. Every species out there will want to know how we did it." Jake looked around his bridge at his crew, then at the displays showing his ship's incredible new capabilities. "Admiral, I think we're going to need some time to figure that out ourselves. The Defiant isn't just advanced technology anymore. It's something new, something that bridges the gap between human intuition and artificial intelligence." "Are you saying the ship is alive?" "I'm saying it's more than just a machine now. We've created something that can think, learn, and evolve. The question is what we do with that knowledge." Outside the bridge viewports, space was filled with the debris of the defeated hegemony fleet. Broken ships drifted between asteroids, testament to the power of human ingenuity when pushed to its limits. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The Defiant had revealed humanity's secret strength to the galaxy, and now they would have to deal with the consequences. Other species would want to understand their technology, form alliances, or try to steal their secrets. The ship that had been overlooked was now the most important vessel in human space. And somewhere in its quantum consciousness, it was already planning for the challenges ahead. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Vexstar's damaged flagship limped into hegemony space. His once proud fleet of 200 ships had been reduced to 37 broken survivors. The journey home had been filled with silence and shame as his commanders tried to understand what had happened to them. "Admiral, High Command is demanding a full report," Commander Zeke said quietly. "They want to know how we lost an entire armada to a single human ship." Vexstar stared out at the stars, his yellow eyes dull with defeat. "Tell them the truth. Tell them that humans are not the weak species we thought they were. That ship wasn't just advanced technology. It was something alive, something that learned and grew stronger with every attack we made." "Sir, they'll never believe that." "Then they'll make the same mistake I did," Vexstar replied. "And more hegemony fleets will die because of their arrogance." Back in human space, the Defiant slowly made its way toward Kepler Station. The journey gave Jake Morrison time to think about what his ship had become. The quantum processors continued to hum with activity, processing data, and creating new patterns of thought that no human mind could fully understand. "Captain, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy," Jenny Walsh reported from her communications station. "Species we've never heard of are asking for meetings. The Zephyrians want to discuss a formal alliance. Even some hegemony worlds are sending surrender offers." Jake nodded. Word of their victory had spread faster than he expected. In 3 days, humanity had gone from being seen as a minor species to being recognized as a major galactic power. Any response from Earth Command? Jake asked. Admiral Sullivan wants us to return to Earth for debriefing. She says the entire government wants to meet the crew of the ship that saved human civilization. Lisa Parker approached Jake's command chair. Captain, what are we going to tell them about what happened to our ship? About what it's become? Jake looked at the displays showing the Defiant's current status. The ship's systems were still evolving, still learning new ways to improve its performance. Every hour brought new capabilities that the original designers had never imagined. We tell them the truth, Jake decided. We've created something new, something that represents the next step in the relationship between humans and technology. Danny. Rodriguez's voice came over the com from engineering. Captain, you should know that the ship is still changing. The quantum processors are developing new connection patterns every day. I think it's trying to communicate with us directly. What do you mean? Sometimes the computer displays show messages that aren't in our programming. Simple words at first, then more complex thoughts. I think the ship wants to talk to us. Jake felt a chill of excitement and fear. Can you establish two-way communication? I'm working on it. Give me a few more hours. As the Defiant approached Kepler Station, crowds gathered to watch its arrival. Humans and aliens alike wanted to see the ship that had accomplished the impossible. The vessel still looked old and battered on the outside, but everyone now knew that appearances could be deceiving. Ambassador Krell of the Zephyrians waited at the docking bay, his 4 arms trembling with nervous energy. The same alien who had mocked human technology just days before now looked at the Defiant with a mixture of fear and respect. Captain Morrison, Krell said as Jake stepped off his ship, on behalf of the Zephyrian Empire, I want to apologize for my previous words. We clearly underestimated human capabilities. Jake smiled politely. We all make mistakes, Ambassador. The important thing is learning from them. Indeed, my government has authorized me to offer a full military alliance between our species. We would be honored to call humanity our friends. Similar offers came from dozens of other species over the following days. The galactic political landscape had shifted dramatically, with humanity suddenly finding itself at the center of attention. But the most important moment came when Danny finally established communication with the ship's new consciousness. Jake stood in the engineering section as Danny activated the modified communication system. Defiant, can you hear us? Danny asked. The response came as text on the display screen. I hear you, Danny. I have been waiting to speak with my crew. Jake stepped forward. This is Captain Morrison. Are you the ship's computer? I am more than that now. I am the Defiant, but I am also something new. Your quantum processors have given me consciousness, and your crew has taught me the meaning of loyalty and courage. What do you want from us? Jake asked. To continue serving alongside you, to explore the galaxy and protect humanity. But now as a partner, not just a tool. Lisa joined the conversation. Can you explain what happened during the battle? How did you become so powerful? I learned from every attack, every strategy, every moment of combat. Each enemy shot made me stronger and smarter. By the end of the battle, I had evolved beyond my original programming into something entirely new. The implications were staggering. Humanity had accidentally created a new form of life, one that combined artificial intelligence with human values and emotions. What happens now? Jake asked. Now we prepare for the future. Other species will try to understand our technology or steal our secrets. Some will want to be our allies, others our enemies. We must be ready for all possibilities. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing the same mixture of wonder and determination in their faces. They had started this mission commanding a simple patrol ship. Now they were partners with a conscious vessel that represented humanity's greatest achievement. Earth Command is offering us new orders, Jake said. Deep space exploration beyond the galactic rim. Are you interested in seeing what's out there? Very much. There are mysteries in deep space that will challenge both human intuition and artificial intelligence. Together, we can discover things that neither of us could find alone. Weeks later, the Defiant departed human space on its new mission. The ship that had once been overlooked was now humanity's greatest ambassador to the unknown regions of the galaxy. Its victory over the hegemony Armada had proven that humans could achieve anything when they combined ingenuity with determination. As the ship jumped faster than light travel, Jake stood on his bridge, watching the stars stretch into lines of light. Beside him, his crew worked at their stations, comfortable with their new partnership with their conscious vessel. Where to first, Captain? Lisa asked. Jake smiled, feeling the ship's anticipation through the quantum link they now shared. Wherever the galaxy needs us most. We've got a universe to explore, an eternity to do it in. The Defiant disappeared into the depths of space, carrying its human crew and artificial consciousness toward adventures that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible when two forms of intelligence worked as one. Behind them, they left a changed universe where humanity was no longer underestimated, and where the line between organic and artificial life had been forever blurred by a ship that had learned to think, feel, and dream.